Dolphins number one, baby.
Fins up, baby.
Dolphins number
Fins up.
one.
I swear, if a certain quarterback is mentioned in the comments, I got my beers ready. I'm gonna crack it open.
Or is it the Serbian kid?
Serbian kid,
This looks done. Oh my God, it looks fantastic.
I hate you so much. No, give me the man. Not a piece of man. Woo! I'm the man. I said it, and it's reality. All right.
Congratulations.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Fins Talk Sports Network. On the clock, we're starting our Dolphins draft talk right now. To my right?
Left.
Sorry.
You're left, right?
Michael Vogel. Michael,
What's
what's up,
up?
man?
How's it going? Let's go. Draft talk, baby.
Let's talk some draft. And then the one, the only, Evan.
The amateur.
In the
The
house.
amateur's here. The amateur draft prognosticators here.
That's right. Taking a week off. Evan back in the house. Brett's biggest fan.
Oh,
here.
yes,
Evan, how
I
you
am.
doing, man? How you doing, Evan?
Me, I'm doing great. I'm welcome. Fun thing to do on Friday night. It's great to hang out with Michael for the first time. Great to be back. Needed a few days off to take care of a couple things, but it's great to be here talking about the draft, talking about the Dolphins, talking about the league. There's no off season in the NFL, so let's just have
There's
some
no
fun
off
tonight.
season for the NFL or the Fins Talk Sports Network. What's
No.
up, John?
Amen.
Good to see you, brother. Everyone tuning in, whether you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, thank you for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. We are growing. We're having a blast. So tonight, what we're doing, everybody's talking about what's going to happen with the defensive coordinator. We should have an answer by tomorrow, I hope. Will it be Fangio? Will it be Desai, Chris Richard? We're going to wait and see. But we're not going to talk about that right now. We'll hold that off for tomorrow. We're talking NFL draft. First off, let me first get off here. Let's say the Dolphins currently only have 5 draft picks. I've seen a lot of people mention in regards to the draft, Dolphins only have 5 draft picks. What can we really do with these picks? Okay, so second round, they got the 51st overall. Third round, they got the 77th and the 84th. In the 6th, they got 164th. And in the 7th, the 216th. Listen, really, with these picks alone, especially the first 3, I think Miami could do some damage. They could get some quality players with these picks. They don't really need to trade up or trade down to gain any extra picks. I think they could do enough. But let's talk about it. Evan, I'm going to start with you since it's your first time on Draft Talk, even though it's only the second episode. You know, you share an opinion with the Dolphins, as we all do, but
Yeah.
you have a pretty strong opinion. Looking at those draft picks, would you be opposed for Miami in order to gain more picks from trading down from 51 overall, or would you rather them look to trade a player or two?
I would. The more picks, the better. That's the one I said last week. I posted in the comments. It wouldn't shock me to take a player and to take one of these second rounders to move up into the first round, because Dreer might want to just up the ante because he's a very aggressive GM. And I think he wants to go all in. And if he sees that it would take he sees a running, even though he's anti-running back in the draft, even though if he sees a player, whether it's a tight end, a running back, another weapon, a linebacker, if he sees a player that he thinks is the right fit and he has to trade up, a player that is on the roster that the DC coordinator, whoever's hired, or McDaniel doesn't feel is a little bit of dead weight, he might take a chance and move up. However, the one thing I will say is that even though he's had some success in the first round, Greer's been more successful with Reggie McKenzie and Marvin Allen and his scouting staff to find the second and third rounders. When you look at the Raekwon Davises and the Brandon Jones and you look, X was a mid-round pick. Like, if you look at the players, there's a lot of the great players that are on our team, except for the gimme putts of Jalen Waddle, and then you had two at the time and all that. A lot of the great players that we've drafted have been in the mid to late rounds, and we also need some depth on this team. So for me, I would actually gather as many picks. The last thing I want him to do, and I will be the first one to get on this or during our draft coverage, if he gives up any picks for next year to get advantage of this year, I will lose my mind, because the more picks, the better. They need depth, they need bodies, but they need the right bodies. And what you've seen this year is that even though the players, if you're a Dolphins fan, if you look at the players that were picked in last year's draft in the 4th, 5th, and 6th, and the 7th round, only Skyler was really utilized. The Eazy-E wasn't ready to play according to the wide receiver staff, and Channing Tindall didn't get the playbook, but maybe that was the kind of scheme that we were running that wasn't the right scheme for him. Maybe the new DC scheme of a 4-3 will be better for him, and he can act more as a spy. But at the same time, the more picks, the better. You want to know what? The Dolphins have the weapons they need offensively. And if you think about it, the defense is really, really strong if they're fully healthy. Go get the missing links. Go get the players you need, and you don't need to do it in the first round because the great players actually come out of the later rounds. The people know in the first 30, the first 15, 20 picks, those are hit or misses, and because those are the named players. But that doesn't mean those are the best players. Right. Look at what's happening this weekend. A lot of the star players that are playing in this weekend's game were not first round easy picks. Right, so
correct.
Look, the superstar quarterbacks. The quarterbacks in the NFC Championship were 2nd and 7th round picks. In the others, you had a 1st round pick and a 10th pick, but at the same time, they needed time to grow. But look at the players around them. So for me, I would trade down or stay steady and go with the picks. Don't go crazy in this draft. Just get the pieces you need, because you go with the pieces that you need, you'll be the good next year. That's what I think. He shouldn't be.
Would you
don't
rather
take any chance to move up?
Gotcha. Would you rather them trade back from 51, or would you rather look and trade a player like John is saying? Trade Byron Jones, which I know is an easy. It's a good one. I think
no one's going to touch him. What are you going to get for Byron Jones? A 5th round? You're not getting a 3rd rounder for Byron Jones.
So would you rather them trade down from 51?
Only if the player that they need, only if the player they wanted is gone. So if he's approaching and then they're in the 40s and the player that he was thinking of getting at 51 is not there, and then his second choice looks to be someone who's might fall a little bit further, then I would maybe trade down. But I wouldn't trade down into another round. I would keep my 2nd rounder. I would not leave the 2nd round. I would put it to that way. He should at least pick the best player available, and also pick the best player available. The one thing I've learned, and this is in all sports that I follow, you take the best player available, need or not. You never succumb to need.
About that.
The best player available. I don't care if he's another edge rusher, because if he's another edge rusher, then in the offseason, you can go trade an Ogba. You can go do something like that. You have some other contract.
I like that.
To go with the best player available.
I talked about that, I think, a little bit last week. I don't know if it was on the Draft Talk show or on another show, but I said, and maybe it been on Real Talk, Vince Talk.
I'll tell you what you did. I'll tell you what you said. You said like we could have had one of the things you said this week was that I think it was on Real Talk, Spin Talk. You talked about how we could have had the running back from Denver over Liam Eichenberg, Javonte Williams. Is that him?
Javonte Williams, from Denver. Yeah.
We could have had him. Instead, we traded up for Eichenberg. Like we got.
Well, and the reason why I was saying was because what you just said
way.
now is that Miami, for whatever reason, Greer is very aggressive in free agency and making splashes, but when it comes to the draft, he's very laid back and goes conservative and goes based off his board. I would rather be more conservative in free agency, get those bolts. That's what I was trying to say to Rob and Steve back on Tuesday night. Get the bolts, and that's and worry about the nice pieces in the draft. When it comes time for draft season, if you see somebody who is supposed to be taken in the top 15 and they're up in number 51, just because he's not on your board or he's not a need, go get him. Go get him. Be ballsy in the draft. Be conservative in free agency. Then guess what? Now you got a very talented player on your roster who needs grooming apparently, but then you're not wasting all your money on players that might not work out.
Let's just talk about overall for the Dolphins. I want to talk is that this team learned this year that they got a mulligan this year. They made the playoffs, but they made the playoffs by the skin of their teeth. They backed in even with injuries. Next year, there's no more excuses. None of us on this fandom is going to give them any more excuses with the staff that they have, the team that they have. The players are going into next year that show that they can play. They're going to be a year more together. The development of this team, a new DC, a new McDaniel, a second-year coach. I can't use the excuse he's a rookie head coach. Go get the players that you have the time to develop and have depth on. Go get the players you truly need. Do not go get them in the draft. You're not going to get your stout right tackle. You're not going to get your stout right tackle or your definitive left guard.
I agree with
that. If you want to go get them, if you want to play Brandon Shell again, or you want to, don't go get those in the draft. You want to go get a developmental piece in the secondary. You want to go get a developmental linebacker again. You want to go get another edge rusher to back them up. You want to go get another wide receiver. I would go get a running back. There's never too many running backs you can have. These guys terrified of getting running backs in the draft. I have no idea why. Breece Hall. So Kenneth Walker could have had both. So all I'm saying is that go get what you know you can develop around and get the key pieces, the trenches. Don't leave that for free agency. Don't go putting around the draft. Don't go take chances in the draft, honestly. And especially if you're going to go, especially if we get a veteran. If we go get a veteran DC, he ain't gonna want developmental pieces on the defense, and McDaniel has to know that, and the team has to know, and Greer has to know, you can't have any more developmental pieces on that offensive line. You saw what happened this year. You need to have.
Yeah, I agree.
No, I think I mean, if there is a definition of a home run in regards of a talking point, I think you hit it. I think you've been off a week. I think you had those loaded. But Michael, man, same question.
I'm learning from the man. You got to beat the man, right?
Michael, no, I agree. I agree with what Evan has said. But when it's talking about the draft, I think you're looking for those developmental pieces. I think if we can get a solid O-line via free agency, I want proven guys over guys like Jackson who have not performed. As a high, unless you've got one of those top, in my opinion, one of those top 3 or 4, top 2 or 3 offensive tackles and offensive guards. Like I don't feel good going after guys in the draft just because, it's a developmental thing. Where if you look at, the O-line free agents right now, like there's some guys out there, especially, there's 2 right tackles out there that we desperately need to protect to his blind side. Yeah.
I mean, in free agents, Mike McGlinchey, right, from the 49ers. Yep. We're going to talk about them tomorrow. But, it's great points. Caleb McGarry, and then you got some good guards, too, there in free agency. There are options in free agency. First off, Josh, man, it's good to see you, brother. My thoughts and prayers are with you. God bless you. Appreciate you, brother.
I just want to bring a point about his philosophy. If this was the team 2 years ago, 3 years ago, built through the draft. This team is window. Right now, it's 2 years, I would say. Because if they're going to give to his option. We're not talking about that today. But you have 2 more years of experience with Tyreek Hill, and you got Bradley. You got all these key weapons. You need to solidify a winner next year.
Right.
You can't be developing on the offensive line. That was the problem. You saw that when the veterans weren't there and the rookies were there, they struggled.
The window's 1 year and then a hard reset. Yeah. That's what I told Steve and Rob, and I agree. I think because when you got Tyreek Hill, your window shrunk, and I think this window comes also, even though we got a new head coach because you kept Greer, even though you fired Flores, it still wasn't that 3-year, 4-year plan. You still had the same team. The assistant problem is now you added Tyreek, and now your window, which was you had that plan to build through the draft, it shrunk up, and now it's like, okay, we got to win because after the second year, Brandon Marshall, Chad Henne, Mike Wallace, Ryan Tannehill, after 2 years, they were broken up. Those receivers were gone. So after the second year, after Tyreek, this next season, you got to try to win and win it all.
But honestly, I believe that this draft, if you think about it, we have how many picks? 5 right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right now, I would give 3 picks. I would give 3 picks. Let McDaniel say what he truly needs, which we think is a tight end, a running back, and I don't care. Throw another wide receiver out there. It doesn't hurt. Or you want to develop. I don't really see the lineman necessarily. Or if you see a quarterback in the end of the draft, go grab another quarterback. Not go to have a developmental thing, and let whoever the DC is going to be, let him see what he needs. We know we need a linebacker. I would look at linebacker and secondary. Those are the things we need because we know the pieces in the defensive line are set up. We know our edges are there. We have 2 phenomenal 3 edge rushers because Ogba didn't even play. So I'd go to the secondary. I'd go to linebacker, and on there I'd go best available player, whether it's at running back, running back, tight end, and receiver because you never have too many receivers. So I would use a Cedric Wilson as a piece. Like, what do we need?
Cedric Wilson's a player I'd trade.
Or I honestly
I would structure a trade right there.
Honestly, you guys you're going to know better than me. Find me the best special teamer in the draft who can return kicks for me. I take him in the 6th or 7th round if he's available.
What's up, brother? Good to see you, Miami Fan Talk Show, guys. Go check him out on YouTube. Like, subscribe. Awesome dude. Let's stay with that because we're talking about free agency. We're talking about positions of need and how Miami should address it. We haven't got to running backs yet. We'll get to running backs, I know, but it's very popular amongst Dolphin fans. Like you said, for whatever reason, Greer's against drafting running backs early, but that will be a discussion. But we'll wait on another episode to go more in depth on rookie running backs in this class, which the draft is deep. But Michael, I'm going to start with you, man. With players like Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Miles Sanders, David Montgomery, potentially hitting the market, would you rather the Dolphins address the need for running back through free agency, or would you rather them go through the draft with a class that's very deep?
I like going the draft route. I think it's, you can hit on running backs anywhere. My issue with going free agency is I just think you're going to overpay. For a running back that's going to cost you an arm and a leg. And I mean, Saquon's already been hurt, a couple seasons. Yeah.
He wants $15 million.
Yeah. I don't see, I
would never do it.
Yeah. That's, I think, you do a lot in the draft for certain positions like O-line. I feel free agency is probably better for O-linemen, and, we can find those hit or miss guys. But again, like when you've got one of these guys that falls in your lap in the draft at running back, take him. We just keep letting them go to other teams, and they keep balling out. So.
And Rob, he says, Rob, man, good to see him from DolphinsThirsty.com. If you're thirsty for Dolphins content, go to DolphinsThirsty.com. But he says, bring back Mozart and Wilson and draft a running back. Hey, those guys fit the scheme. If the Dolphins could bring those guys, but I know it's not exciting for fans because the Dolphin fans and fans in general, they just love the unknown. Oh my gosh, Can we get a Saquon Barkley, $15 million? Can we get a Tony Pollard, who I think would be great fit for the Dolphins? Miles Sanders, but it's going to cost cap, and the Dolphins don't have a lot of that, even though they could restructure. And we talked about that on Finstock, Real Talk Finstock. They could get up to $44 million in cap space, but you need that money to possibly go get some offensive linemen, go get a linebacker, a veteran linebacker maybe. So it would make sense to go and get the guys who you're familiar with, who are familiar. Mozart has shown when healthy, which is always a key word with this damn football team, when healthy, that he could be successful in this offense. Wilson had a great couple weeks, and he kind of, but drafting a running back, but I don't want to be like, and I don't want to, I feel bad but I don't want to be like another Gerard Dokes situation or whatever, draft a guy late and him never see the floor. No, you need to, if at 51, if one of these top guys are there, because it's a very deep draft, or in 70, 77, 84, whatever.
Yeah.
On a Chain or a Charbonnet or the kid from Pitt, whatever, one of those guys, go get one of these guys. Right. So that way, when Mozart and this other one leave after a year again, you have yourself a running back that you could depend upon to be,
So I feel like part of the issue is, especially for Miami, is how many different coaches have we had in the last 20 years? Every coach has a different philosophy on the different positions they when Flores was here, he was more of a defensive guy, and he's going to value those defensive picks and not really care about running backs. Like if Mike McDaniel's the guy, and it'll be interesting to see how he does in this draft, and if we can keep him for 8, 10, 15 years, will we start seeing a more exactly
talk.
The more that he does, the more wins and stuff that he has, depending on how long he's here, where we see a more consistent drafting. Because I feel like we've just been so inconsistent the last 3 or 4 coaches that we've had, and the things that, that they felt was, important.
They've done too many reaches. They've done too many reaches. If something's obvious, it's what it is, and that was why I was hard on the team at the end of the year. If something is staring at you blank right in the face, and someone's gifting you something, take it. Don't try to think that they're trying to trick you. Take the best person in the draft. The only thing is that Bobby knows this because McDaniel said it when he was interviewed. He said, if every draft, if the best edge rusher is available, I'll take an edge rusher every draft. That would be my number one pick, even though he's on the offensive side of the ball. But for me, they need to go for the best available person. So in the end, if the best available person turns out to be a offensive lineman or turns out to be a kicker, I don't care. Go get him. But At the same time, in the early picks, if you know that the person your need is there and he was a top pick that's been falling, go take him. You have nothing to lose. Just because someone else is not interested in that person, go get him. Be smart. Like, trust your draft board, but also don't be saying because, I have 3 great offensive linemen right now, I need 2 more, I have to go fill them in the draft. You have all of offseason. This is in April. You can go sign an offensive lineman like you did with Brandon Shell mid-year. You can go get people in July and August after training camp, after mini camps. People get cut. Go with the best players you can. There's nothing wrong with getting skilled players on your football team.
Yeah, I think the best thing is in free agency, fill your roster where you have as less holes as possible, and then go in the draft so you could get those luxury picks. So let's talk about offensive line. It's another key issue for the Dolphins going into last year, or this year, was last year. Dolphins, of course, signed Terron Armstead. They go get Connor Williams, the 11th ranked guard in the NFL the year prior. He becomes the center here. And despite some overpasses or over snaps, which Evan's a huge fan of, he did have a successful year, his first full year as starting center for Miami. So Dolphins
I just saw a ball go over my head. Sorry. A pig just flew. Yeah.
So right now, left guard, unless of course they draft a center, left guard and right tackle are the key positions on the offensive line that need to be addressed. We know Terron Armstead at left tackle. You got Connor Williams at center, Robert Hunt at right guard. So we know those positions are kind of set, minus the depth. So, Michael, if you had to rate this year's offensive line class or grade it from A to F or A plus to F plus, whatever, what would it be? Can Miami find some quality offensive line help in this draft?
I don't. I think it was better than last year's O-line, but I'll probably give it a C minus.
Interesting.
Okay. Especially me being an offensive line guy, like that's the one. I just felt like every game, we were throwing, 5 guys out there that had a different 5 every time. There's some consistencies across the board, but like it felt like it was a different lineup every week. It's definitely a heavy draft for tackles and guards. There's probably 3 or 4 good centers. I feel like we can again. Like I don't want to reach for these offensive linemen. I think there's a couple good offensive linemen like George Fant and Mike McGlinchey that are right tackles that we can get in free agency. There's a couple centers that are about to hit free agency, and then a few guards coming up too. So I'm more of trying to get some linemen in via free agency than I do the draft. Again, unless you're one of those top 10, 15 teams where you're going to get a stud offensive lineman right out of the box.
Do you think? I mean, we're going to talk about our top 5 offensive linemen in this draft. Do you think any of those top 5 guys will be there at 51?
Possibly. I'm trying to pull mine up right now. Who I had. It's possible. The Luke Whippler, the center from Ohio State, and John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota are centers that could be there at 51. My other 2 are probably top 10 picks. I got another one, Peter Skoronski, who's also going to be probably top 15.
Okay, so
I don't want to see an O-lineman in the draft. So let's be honest.
You don't want Miami to draft O-lineman.
Name me an O-lineman that Chris Greer has ever drafted that has actually been successful. We don't need development. What are we trying to develop an O-line? Like, by the way, I was not terribly disappointed in our O-line. We have 3 very key pieces. If someone told me tomorrow, worst case scenario, that we started the season off next year with a healthy Terron Armstead, a healthy Robert Jones, a healthy Connor Williams, a healthy Robert Hunt, and a healthy Brandon Shell, I wouldn't be that upset. But I would go, but I wouldn't mind having Robert Jones as a backup. I wouldn't mind having Brandon Shell as a backup, and you go fill those pieces in free agency. We have young pieces already. Eichenberg, we have Austin Jackson, we have those. Who knows what's going to happen with them? But we have Robert Jones, we have Kendall Lamb. We can bring those people back to be backups. Just go fill the pieces. It's not that hard to go find 2 basic offensive linemen. Look at the team that's playing in the AFC Championship. They dominated the Buffalo Bills with 3 backup O-linemen.
Yeah.
We're not recent draftees.
Yeah.
So, by the way, my dream has just come true. My second dream is my first dream. My first dream was to be was to duel with Brett. My second dream was to be on the same show with Dave Stager. So my dream has now come true.
I wanted to make you happy, so I said Dave needs to be here despite being on one leg, robotic leg.
How you feeling, buddy? I hope it all went well.
And dream live short, leave audio. Okay, anyway. No, I'm actually doing really good. I'm up and moving. I'm off the crutches completely now. 2 days removed from surgery, so doctor said get rid of them as soon as possible. So help the physical therapy, and just taking it day by day, but still doing a lot better. And stop taking the heavy stuff like oxycodone they prescribed yesterday. That was driving me nuts and making me loopy. Couldn't stand it, so I'm just sticking to Aleve and extra strength Tylenol. But yeah, just doing the dad thing, trying to get back in the groove.
Hey, Dave, let me ask you, man. We just asked this question, and of course, this is Dolphins Draft Talk. You're a Packers fan, but you're ready for on the clock. But this question could go for you because Michael just rated this offensive line class for this season as a C minus.
C minus, yeah.
C minus. Where would you, from A plus to F? Where would you grade this class? If you can't right now, that's okay. I know we have a whole off season, but if you could right now, where would it be?
See, now that's the thing. If you look at it, like I could agree with Mike on a standpoint for that grade because there's no heavy hitters in like this class compared to years past. Like there's been clearing away tackles last year before that make you go, okay, I need that guy. I can't pass on that guy. It's like Vikings draft Christian Darrisaw, guys like that. You don't see that this year. Like, okay, you've got Skoronski, who a lot of people are saying he's got shorter arms. He might be moved to guard. So that, to me, that's a downgrade if you're already talking about him as a first-round pick. So I can definitely see somewhere between a B minus to a C minus somewhere in there. It's because it's just, to me, it's not an offensive line heavy class, and I completely agree with Michael.
Okay, fair enough. All right, Michael, let's roll with you. We are 27 minutes into our Dolphins draft talk before we get on the clock. Of course, you got Michael, Dave Stager of Huddle Up and Wait, and Evan Posner of Finstock Sports Network in the house. He does everything like myself, but just about. So we were talking about it. Let's go ahead. We're talking about offensive line. We're talking about top 5 offensive line in a C minus class. Let's go over your top 5 guys, and then I'll roll into mine, and then we'll go ahead and get into on the clock NFL talk. So let's go ahead. These are Michael's top 5 offensive linemen. List them, sir, and then tell us what's going on.
Yeah. Broderick Jones is my favorite offensive tackle by far. I feel like he plays at a different level. Watching film of Tennessee last year, 2021, a couple plays where he was taking on 2 guys at once, one in each hand. He's got a fiery personality. I just love the way he plays. Ohio State played Paris Johnson at offensive tackle, but it sounds like they're going to move him. NFL's thinking about he's more of a guard. Mm-hmm. And then Luke Whippler at center, Peter Skoronski at offensive tackle, and John Michael Schmidt at Minnesota are as a center. And then an honorable mention, I know we keep talking about not getting guys in the draft, but my honorable mention, and if you've seen this, he is an old school. He looks old school and plays very physical. Cody Mock from North Dakota State, missing 2 front teeth, long red hair.
Looks like Dave Stager's high school photo.
Yeah, exactly.
He's jealous.
And he's just like, I watched a bunch of tape on him today, and like against Arizona, like I wanted to see kind of that next level competition. He's blocking. He's literally blocking guys out with one arm. He's able to get to the second level, and he's running with linebackers and safeties and being able to body them and stuff, getting downfield. So those are like my top 6 guys. Really, the only one that I want, if we drafted somebody, would be Cody Mock. But those are the 5 that I went with.
That's not the one you bring home to mama. I can promise you that one.
Yeah. He's not pretty. He's not
Those
pretty.
are the guys you want on your offensive line. That's
exactly. I'm not bringing him home to mom. I'm bringing him home to Mike McDaniel. Yeah, I'm bringing him home to Mike McDaniel. So
let me.
he would eat Mike McDaniel for a midnight snack.
He would.
So let's go ahead and keep this rolling as we get almost to our on the clock second half hour here. Here's my top 5 offensive linemen. Parrish Johnson, 6'6", 315 pounds. I love his size. Perfect for a starting tackle in the NFL. What I love about him is his position flexibility, multiple positions he's played. He started at guard in 21 before moving the tackle in 22. Moves effortlessly despite his size. I mean, he's an explosive athlete. Great range as a run blocker. Just perfect combo between power and athleticism. Natural left tackle, but I just love that, in the NFL, you could start him off as a right tackle, or you can move him at the guard before he transcends into a left tackle. Broderick Jones out of Georgia, 6'4", 315. He's a raw prospect, but he has huge upside. I mean, for his size, he has shown great athleticism, power, strong, aggressive, has potential. His potential may push him up the boards in April. He could be a starting tackle, but I see him. And Michael, you could disagree, sir, or I see him as a guard starting out in the NFL because of his size. Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern, 6'4", 294. He's one of the top offensive linemen in this draft, especially early on, but I think it's going to change as the offseason goes on. I see him as a guard, but when you watch the tape, the one thing I do notice about him is why he's one of the top guys. Fundamentally, he's very sound. Knows where he needs to be, knows where to keep his hands. Very good, remains strong in protecting the running game. I mean, which is in Miami's situation would be great because, Miami's is going to be, well, you think, but I think he became a prisoner of the passing game in Mike McDaniel, but should be a run first type team because of the Niners Shanahan type offense. Andrew Voorhees out of USC, 6'6", 320. Voorhees has played multiple positions in college. I love precision flexibility. I love a guy who could play multiple positions on the offensive line, especially in Miami's case where you have depth issues. You need a guy who could play multiple spots, not someone who's learning on the job, someone who's done it before. He's done that. He's one of the more impactful players. He's logged minutes at center, guard, tackle. He brings experience. Teams look for that in a rookie coming in. When you read about him, you watch him on tape, you see a monster in the run game. That sticks out to me. I don't want to take away what he does in the passing game, but his bread and butter to me is the running game. Doesn't look to take a playoff, seems to seek defenders. When no one's in front of him, he seems to look for for who to hit. I just love it. He's a monster. And of course, Deron Jones out of Ohio State. Size. I love size. Doesn't always have to be it, but when you're 6'8", 360 pounds, dude is massive. Two-sport athlete, played basketball, played football. Another monster in the run game. He bullies defenders, super strong. He may have to lose a little bit of weight next year, but I think he could be a hit for some teams if they could get him.
Put him on the Solomon Kinley diet.
There you go. Hey, Dave, and Evan, if you have anybody, if you heard of anybody, if you saw anything, right
I'm
now,
listening. Yeah, I'm learning. I have, but I'm learning. I'm listening.
Perfect, Dave. Any guys stick out to you?
I mean, I know you guys did your top 5, and I always like kind of picking people like kind of not mentioned. I got a Maryland, Jalen Duncan. Jalen Duncan is one of my favorite prospects. He's big. He's mean. He's the reason why they had success in the run game last year. He can hold up in the pass game. Bergeron from Syracuse, Blake Freeland from BYU. These are guys that are going to be available in the second, third round that aren't really being talked about because they're being talked about top 5 offensive line. They're going to be in the first, early second. And I just feel like with that, the guys like that need to be mentioned because we always have teams take offensive linemen we might not expect up in the first and early second, and guys like this, I feel like could crack the top 5.
Hey, Bobby. Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't pick a guy from Maryland. The guy knows something about protecting at Tagovailoa. Hey,
there you go. There you go. Josh.
He even Staker's a closet Dolphins fan. He brings up someone who can protect Tua. Who protected his brother.
I assure you, sir, I am not a Tuna fan at all.
I know that, but it was a joke because of who he protected, who he was protecting this season.
Josh, when you're ready, brother, you know damn well you're welcomed on the draft show. Your experience and knowledge is welcomed.
Dallas fan with a Packer fan?
I know. Well, we still love him anyway.
I can bring on a few Bears fans. I can bring on a few
Malloy
Bears fans.
Good to see you, man.
Bring on a few Bears fans for you.
We are at past the 30-minute mark. That's been our Dolphins draft talk, but we're not done with the draft. We're going straight into NFL now. We're watching On the Clock now. Dave Stager, Evan Postner, Michael Vogel, Bobby Finstock. Like and subscribe. We appreciate you. So let's get into it. Dave, I'm going to start with you, and then we'll go Michael, and then Evan, if you have a response. I know you're learning, so it's all good.
I always have an opinion. You know.
Who's your number one?
No.
Wow. That is brand new information. Dave.
Breaking.
Dave, who's your number one? Who's your number one player in this draft right now?
I said it last week. It's 1A, 1B. It's Jalen Carter. It's Will Anderson. They're just so close and top-tier talent and defense. I love Bryce Young as a quarterback and what he offers, but his size worries me. But if you look at Will Anderson, people say, "Oh, he's too lightweight." The guy plays like he's a 270-pound edge. He's only 235 pounds. He has enough muscle on him to move tackles against SEC tackles, which are NFL tackles size. So I have no problem seeing him succeed there. Jalen Carter is just a problem. Like every time you turn on the tape, he's in the backfield. He's literally in the backfield every single play. It doesn't matter. Run defense, pass defense. He's there. He's causing problems. He's making teams run the ball away from him, roll pass plays away from him because he's that big of a problem. Runs straight away, it's Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
Runs a 4.96 40. That's scooting. 4.96 for a D lineman. Yeah.
Josh Wingate says Jalen Carter is great. He thinks Jalen Carter, but are we overrating him?
No, he's that good.
Yeah.
I think he's that. I mean, when I watched it, everybody was saying Will Anderson, and when I put on the tape on Will Anderson, or you go to YouTube, type in Will Anderson verse, and you watch everything. I wasn't that attracted. To me, I saw he has an edge rusher, but I saw him more as a linebacker. I think Jalen Carter, like for me, Will Anderson, I kind of I don't see what everyone sees. But when I see Jalen Carter, he just blows on my screen. I mean, that dude is all over. I don't see no quit. All over the field, like you were saying, he's in the backfield. He's pushing guys back. That dude, to me, he's the number one player, at least right now for me. Michael, what are you thinking?
Same thing. I'm always all about the O-line, D-line, and he just pops. You watch the tape, and that boy just pops off the field. He's always in the, like we were saying earlier, he's in the backfield. He's creating havoc. He's able to redirect it, if the ball's going one way and he's going the other, he's able to redirect and run him down from behind. So he's my number one, and Will Anderson is number two for me.
Hey, Josh, if you're still in there, brother, we appreciate you watching. Who's your number one player? Is it Will Anderson? Or do you have Jalen Carter right now as well, even though you're asking the question, are we overrating him? That's something
people said the same thing about Trayvon Walker. He had a pretty good year with Jackson.
Yeah, he did. That's true. Trayvon Walker.
So my argument was Jalen Carter over Will Anderson is this: top tier, all pro level potential defensive linemen are harder to find than all pro edge guys. If you look at how many teams trade edge guys in the NFL, like Bradley Chubb just got traded and he was pretty damn good and he went to Miami. You look at defensive linemen, the last one I can remember is DeForest Buckner. And even before that, there's not a lot of heavy defensive linemen, especially they're all pros.
That's a damn good
because
point.
Teams hold on to those guys because they're so valuable. So Jalen Carter is more valuable right now because you're not going to see another defensive lineman down the board until Brian Bresee or Brian Bresee, however you pronounce his name. It's I know some people pronounce it different, but I think he's still better than what people realize.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
Yeah. But I'm going to see what he says.
But no, Trent, he said the same thing.
He'd take Jordan Davis over Jalen Carter right now. So,
I don't know. Jordan Davis' health this year kind of concerned me.
Okay. So, Evan, you've been sitting there. You've been listening. Any responses here?
No. For me, one thing I'm learning as an NFL fan and just a sports fan, you can't lose by going into the trenches. And I did. I have watched Georgia. I have watched the SEC most of the season. That's what we get up here in Canada. And to watch Jalen Carter play, watching him in the playoffs, the championship game, I would go after him. For me, I'd say Will Anderson. Like you said, you can go get a linebacker those are easier to find. But to go get someone in the trenches, look at our team in general. Look at our look at the number one key thing we need to worry about in our offseason, and it's there's 2 players in the trenches that we need to re-sign. And if we lose those 2 players, well, we're going to lose our crap. So you want to know what? I have seen Jalen Carter play. I'm not a big fan of the quarterbacks going tops because of their size. So for me, I'm definitely in agreement that Jalen Carter, from what I saw this season, was the top player in the draft.
Perfect. If I'm drafting in the NFL, I will find Will Anderson more valuable than Jalen Carter, Josh Wingate. So let's talk about the number. We're talking about who could be the number 1 rated player in the draft right now. Let's talk about the number 1 overall pick. We kind of talked about it a little bit last week. Should Chicago keep that pick? Should they trade down from that pick? I think they will end up trading down. I think that somebody's going to give up the farm to get a quarterback and try to jump over Houston. So the report came out saying that the Bears are unlikely, if they stay at 1, obviously, to draft a quarterback.
Did you see the new reports today?
What happened today?
Warren Sapp came out and said he was on Chicago radio and says he has sources inside Chicago right now saying that if Chicago apparently loves Bryce Young and they're trying to package Justin Fields and number 1 to send to the Texans so Texans can go get Bryce Young.
So the Bears can go get Bryce Young?
Yeah, that other way around.
Yeah. They would send him. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Basically, wow. The Texans. The Texans would get Justin Fields and that 2nd round pick, and then they would basically swap that. And
I think if that happens, I think the Chicago, Michigan, that river would look like your sweater before St. Patrick's Day. I think everyone would vomit into that river. If they get rid of Justin Fields in Chicago, that place is going to blow.
So let's do that. That was my question.
They're going to blow up.
So let me answer. I'll start
with Jalen Carter. If I were them, they got rid of Roquan Smith. You know how much they were getting rid of Roquan Smith? They need to go fill up that defense again.
He didn't want to be there.
I know that, but go fill that up.
Okay.
Well, why was Chicago
I think I'm getting
successful?
the answer, even though
why has Chicago been successful? They were successful in their past years because of their defense. You have an offensive weapon in Justin Fields. Go fill up your defense again, please. Go fill up the cupboard.
So let me go with you then. I think obviously I'd take Justin Fields over a lot of players. So there goes Josh. Josh thinks he would rather stick with Justin Fields. So Evan, would you rather? It says unlikely to draft a quarterback at number 1. Dave heard something earlier today that was different. Should they consider a quarterback at number 1 or no? I'm assuming you're saying no.
Chicago should go either stick with number 1 unless they're given they're moved down the draft, whether it's to go to Indianapolis and they were able to, and their player will still likely be there. Like I wouldn't drop more than 3 or 4 players if I was them, because you still need to go fill up your defense. If they're dropping, the player they know will be there at that pick. They're going to be comfortable with who's there.
I think you trade down.
I would trade down, but because I have a feeling that in Indianapolis,
Evan is a closet Bears fan. Whoa, Steve!
Thank you, Steve. Thank you.
I am not a closet Bears fan in any way, shape, or form. I'm surrounded by Bears fans. That's a problem in my family. But no, to be honest with you, for me, I would. There's a lot of people who are going to trade, who are going to want that number 1 pick, but I think it really depends on, for example, who gets hired in Houston.
Yeah.
From awful to below average. Wow.
Oh my God. Yeah. Dak Prescott. Excuse me. We'll have a little bet next year. Who's going to win Super Bowl before Tua or Dak? We'll have another.
Dak Prescott got to compete in the playoffs and win a playoff game this year with Tua.
7. Yeah. How many years in a row has he failed?
But has Tua played in the playoff game?
How many years has Dak played? Give me a break. I don't want
how many playoff games? I just answer the question. Tonight. I just want to know. How many playoff games has Tua played in? Exactly.
Tua, listen, I'm going to state right here.
Tua's the reason they're in the playoffs.
Let me just say this. I'm going to answer this right. Tua will win a Super Bowl before Dak Prescott as backup to Tom Brady. All right, Michael.
I was still in the middle of my point.
Sorry.
For me, what's very dependent on what happens in the draft is who gets hired in Houston. It's if a Jonathan Gannon or if it's not an offensive guy who needs to go and get it. If it's a defensive guy going to Indianapolis.
Miko Ryans is the heavy favorite right now.
Where to Houston, right?
For Houston.
That'd be
so I don't see for him. He might. I don't necessarily see him running to move up. He might be able to say, "I was in San Francisco. I can develop with any decent quarterback if I have a great defense." if I'm an offensive guy going to Houston or an offensive guy going to Indianapolis, I'm going to end up trading up to go get. They're going to be crazy. They're going to go get a Will Levis, or they're going to go get a Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, so they get the player they want. It all depends on who gets hired in that location. I really believe that's going to determine who's going to potentially fight to move up. Because if I see an offensive coach going to Indianapolis, they're going to push very hard. If they find the quarterback they want, they're going to go get him at 1. They're going to trade up with Chicago.
Well, I think Irsay's already got it planned to move up to 1.
Yeah, I think Irsay's already planned. It's not a coach decision. I think it's owner.
Yeah.
No, but I have a feeling though that depending on who this quarterback is, right? Like I think,
Yeah.
Michael, same question though. You're hearing everything and what they've said about Chicago. What's your thoughts on it? Should they consider a quarterback at 1, or you think they should build around Justin Fields, trade down, get more picks, build around him? What are you thinking?
Yeah, no, you've got Justin Fields, and I felt like he showed a ton of potential this year. Put the ball all over the place, both throwing and running. Like, just build around him and take one of those defensive guys. If you end up staying at 1, take one of the defensive guys to go. To their point is to be able build that defense back up and then get him some weapons. He doesn't have anybody to throw to right now. So yeah, I mean, I'd either stay at 1 or trade back and still get your defensive guy at 4.
Gotcha. So let's stick with quarterback for a second. A quarterback who's just won a national championship, has one of the best winning records as a quarterback the last 2 seasons, well regarded as a leader, high football IQ, but is not considered one of the top quarterbacks in this class, maybe a day 3 pick. Stetson Bennett, Michael. Are people sleeping on Bennett?
I had thrown a tweet out right after they won the championship. Like, why is he getting so disrespected outside of his size? I know his size isn't that thing. And then somebody brought up to me, was it AJ McCarron for Alabama that did the same thing? Won 2 national championships and then didn't do anything in the pros. Is that right? Is that the right player?
I think AJ McCarron. Yeah, I think
AJ McCarron went to the Bengals. Wasn't he at the Bengals? He was at the Bengals.
Well, I mean, you weren't going to be successful with the Bengals unless you're Joe Burrow.
Jesus.
Or Boomer Esiason.
Or Boomer Esiason, yeah.
Sir.
Yeah, Boomer Esiason back in the day. I do think there is some slight on him, but if he's offered to play in these bowl, these like the Senior Bowl, like he turned down the Senior Bowl, like that. To me, that just turned.
That's a bonus.
He's got a family of 5. He's old.
I mean, that's a good point too.
No, but the problem with Stetson Bennett for me personally, you compare to like he won his national championship. I think he's a great talent in college, but I think he won as a result of the scheme around him and the players around him.
Thank you,
Joe Burrow, LSU built that team for Joe Burrow was the leader of that team. Like they built around him. They didn't build around Stetson Bennett. They could have thrown. They could have thrown anybody there and they would have been fine. Like, it was the team was just phenomenal. Like, it's a different world.
Let me ask Michael. Let me ask Michael this, because you said that you may feel like he's getting a little disrespected. Where would you feel comfortable taking him? If let's say you're a general manager and you had to if you were going to grab him, would you rather wait till he's an undrafted free agent, or would you look in the 7th round, 6th round, or earlier?
Maybe 4th or 5th. I mean, yeah, I don't know his. Again, right? Every draft pick comes down to the team that drafts them and how well they're run. Could San Francisco do what they're doing with him? Like Brock Purdy, is he that type where San Francisco could build him into something? I don't know, But if you end up like so many times, like for right now, like do you really want to be the quarterback that ends up in Houston? Kind of with all the background of how that team's run and they've fired their first time coach, or only had those 2 coaches for 1 year apart. Like, a lot of it's just dependent on what team drafts them and what team finds value in them.
Dave, so you've been sitting quiet. Your quarterback might be on the move. might follow the same suit as number 4. Number 12 might be going to the Jets.
And I wouldn't touch Stetson Bennett with a 10-foot pole. He's got a mortgage just like me. He pays his 401k just like me. No thanks. He's about to be just as old as I am, starting as a rookie in the NFL, and I'm 35 years old. So, no, I'm sorry. Stetson Bennett should not be drafted, even signed as an undrafted free agent. He's not going to make it, same as Josh said. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know why. He is carried by a really damn good defense, good running game.
Well, that's true.
And 2 tight ends in Bauer and Washington who have been a beast this year. And he's literally just done the Matt Stafford to Calvin Johnson thing and just threw it up to his tight ends. And like Josh just said, he makes bad decisions. Forearm strength. Who was the Georgia quarterback?
He said you all have watched Tua too long, and it makes Bennett look good.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it.
Somehow the guy's injured and still made the Pro Bowl. I have no idea what you guys are talking about right here.
What Pro Bowl? He can't do. He's in concussion protocol.
Doesn't matter. By the way, he still gets the benefit of making the Pro Bowl. So for his contract, he actually benefits from making the Pro Bowl.
There you go.
I mean, he's still going to get a concussion. I'm just saying it.
He'll be just fine. Well, why? I didn't even bring him up tonight. I didn't even bring him up.
All right, time out. I got to ask this. I know it's a draft on the clock, but I got to say it. Evan, do you want him to endanger his mental health later on for life?
No.
So then why do you want him to keep playing? Because he's already got about, 4 or 5 concussions?
Because for me personally, I'm not a doctor. And for me, if the doctors say he can play, I can't tell him what he can and cannot do. I'm from Canada, where concussions in hockey is a regular thing, and if you get that, and one of the best Canadian players to ever play had 8 concussions in his career, and he's still a superstar in the NHL 15 years later. I'm not an expert in concussions. If someone told me his health was in danger, he's not concussion prone. He's someone who gets concussions, but it doesn't mean he's going to continue to have problems later in life.
I'm not
a doctor. I'm just telling you. I want the healthiest, best player to be my quarterback. And if he's told he can't play, then get the best player around. I'm not saying I'm not defending Tua.
I just thought you were. That's why I was like, hold on.
No. Dave, you ask Bobby. Bobby knows me more than anything. I've been off for a week. This is all fun for me. I have a blast. I think you guys are all fantastic. I'm not here to. I don't want him to hurt himself. He even said that. I said that when he got hurt. If his health is in danger for his future, and they say he's not capable of playing because he's 1 concussion away from having serious issues. The problem with Tua, let's just talk about it, and that's the problem with Stetson Bennett. Would be a problem with Stetson Bennett in this league is because of his size, you have to use your skill sets and you have to be smart. The problem with Tua in this league, and people don't understand it, isn't the fact that he's not a talented quarterback. It's the fact that he's so hard-headed that he doesn't want to get rid of the ball and he wants to play hero ball. If he gets rid of the ball quickly, he'll survive in this league. If he continues to try to hold on to the ball for 5 seconds and beat Trevor Lawrence or Josh Allen, of course he's going to be out of the league in 6 years.
That's a different conversation. I think he's a system QB, but anyways.
So will Jordan Love when he's your starter next year.
I'm fine with Jordan Love. I'm intrigued to see what he's got.
I think it's a knock to say he's a system quarterback. I think he is a system quarterback. I don't think it's a knock.
What's wrong with being a system quarterback?
I don't think there is.
It's a knock.
Brock Purdy's a system quarterback.
Sure.
Brock Purdy's actually good.
Oh, damn.
Then why did how many general managers waited 7 rounds to pick him? That means everyone's a moron in the NFL, right?
Same thing with Tom Brady.
your long year dream of getting this stuff.
It shows how bad Miami is picking 2 in the first round over Justin Herbert.
What does Justin Herbert want exactly?
Steve says
how many playoff games has Justin Herbert won? How many playoff games has Justin Herbert won?
He's carried the Chargers franchise, sir.
Problem is,
excuse me, Mike Williams has carried the. Excuse me, he has carried.
Yes, Dolphins.
Bobby, will you defend me here?
Yes.
Without Mike Williams, Justin Herbert is a completely useless quarterback because when he's been out of the lineup, he sucked this year.
Without Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. They were both
out. No, he did not. They were 6-6. They were 6-6 out of the playoffs before Mike Williams and Keenan Allen got back. They were back for the stretch run. That's when they started winning. That's when they started winning, and he crapped the bed in the playoff game.
DeAndre Carter and Josh Palmer. Go look it up.
Is he telling me that?
Josh Palmer and DeAndre Carter. Go check it.
I'll look him up.
Go look him up. The stats were right there.
You can never go a Dolphin show without bringing up Justin Herbert, even though he doesn't.
I didn't bring him up.
No, I did because he's the better quarterback.
Okay.
And he beat Tua.
He did.
Easy.
Hold on, wait for that.
No, he actually beat Mike McDaniel. He actually beat Mike McDaniel, that moron.
But who was on the Dolphins QB at the time?
Tua.
Oh, there you go.
So, all right,
moving right along.
My dream is to do a show with Dave Digger. You want to have PTI on steroids? You do me and him. I'm telling you.
Hey, that would be a fun show, kind of like First Take. We call it debate.
Me and him, we'd have some fun.
All right, on the clock.
So but by the way, Stetson Bennett. Can I just say one thing about Stetson Bennett? We know this from a lot of other players. Whether you're Tim Tebow, whether you're like you say, just because you win a national championship doesn't make you a quarterback for in the NFL. It's anywhere. This guy would be this guy. I'm telling you, this guy would win 15 Grey Cups in Canada, but he ain't winning nothing in the NFL. He's not built to be an NFL quarterback. He gets destroyed.
Okay, you say it because of his size.
His size and his size, number one. Number two, who's investing in a 26-year-old to lead your team in the NFL? How many times did that happen? He's not Joe Burrow. I'll put it that way. If he was Joe Burrow with the pocket presence, he was successful in the national championship because he got out of the pocket. If he was a pure pocket quarterback, I maybe would believe it. He's not a pure pocket passer. He was in the national championship. He was moving. For him to make plays, he moves. He doesn't stay in the pocket.
So let's talk about quarterback size, and we'll move on from Stetson Bennett. But let's stick this because I did see this name brought up, and we brought it up a little bit earlier with Bryce Young. Bryce Young right now is probably number one rated quarterback in the draft. There's a few good ones there, but he might, even though he's the number one rated quarterback, he might not be the first quarterback taken because Will Levis with size and all that, the team's probably going to grab him. But the size thing. The size is an issue for some, but I think he checks the box on every other thing you want with a quarterback.
He's not that accurate. For a small guy, you better be accurate. He's not very accurate.
So, okay, let me ask this. Let me ask I would say unbiased, but I think he has his own opinion. But I'm going to ask anyway.
What do you mean? I am unbiased.
Not you. You'll see the question in a second because I want to get it this way. Dave. And then Michael. Evan, you're right after Michael. Hold it up. Dave.
I love you all.
We were just talking about Tua. Better Alabama quarterback coming out of the draft. Would it be Tua, Mac Jones, or Bryce Young?
Bryce Young, all day long.
Michael, you agree?
I think so. Just because Tua came out with all the injuries, had the bad hip injury. Where Bryce Young hasn't had that, so I feel, I feel like right now he's kind of he'd be a more, like if they redid the draft, I think he'd go before Tua. I hate saying that because I like Tua.
No, I get it, but the thing is too is I think he's done more with less.
Yeah.
I mean, Tua had some superstars on that team, on that very talented team around him, where not as talented for Bryce Young. And look what Bryce Young was able to do. I think that kind of shows who's the better one. That's just my opinion. And obviously Tua's our quarterback and we root for him and for him to succeed. But if we're going to go with comparison, since we bring to talk about Tua coming out of the draft between the two guys, I think Bryce Young is a better prospect. Because what he was, and that's the same reason why, and I'm not, and woulda, shoulda, coulda, I'm just saying it. That's why when the draft was coming down, when it came to the two quarterbacks, I preferred Justin Herbert over Tua. Because what Justin Herbert was able to do with no weapons in Oregon compared to what Tua was doing with great weapons in Alabama. Evan?
Wasn't it Dave's turn?
No, Dave said at the beginning. He started.
Oh, okay. For me, out of the draft, Bryce, I would agree, Bryce Young, because of the fact if Tua didn't have the potentially career-ending hip injury, Tua probably would have had a much better. Obviously, who knows what would have happened that year, and who knows where his ceiling could have been that year. Bryce Young coming out, I think he's a better quarterback than Tua. I personally think overall, talent-wise, you brought up Mac Jones, the best Alabama quarterback. You forgot about Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts made a move, but overall talent, Jalen Hurts has more of a dual threat, and he's bigger and he's developed. Bryce Young is going to go to a team, and he's going to have the Justin Fields feel, and he's going to have he can move out of the pocket, he can throw the ball, but he's going to struggle at the beginning because of his size, and the fact he's not going to go to a team that's well built unless he falls a little bit. So for me, in the draft, he's the third quarterback I'd pick. So of the top three quarterbacks, he's the third quarterback I'd pick.
Ralphie boy. I get it. And that's great point with Jalen Hurts. So let me ask that again.
Took a week off, hey. Look what happens.
Hey, look at that. So Jalen Hurts, would he be Oklahoma? Would he count him Oklahoma or would he count him Alabama?
He had his best passing year in Oklahoma.
But he spent more years in Alabama.
But he was a running QB in Alabama. Best QB passer as a QB would be Bryce Young.
Yeah. Well, also he learned under. It's also because of where he developed as a better quarterback at Oklahoma because he had an offensive head coach there. He never
Lincoln Riley. We know that.
Yeah, when you're dealing with Lincoln Riley, you're going to get an offensive mind. Look what he's developed with Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield. But of all the three quarterbacks he's developed, Jalen Hurts turned out to be the best one.
Right.
Dave, let me ask you this: we're almost about at the hour, but you came in at that 28-minute mark to start on the clock. But this question again goes to just NFL in general. The draft, not the draft. Well, the draft for sure is stacked at running back. At least I believe. You could disagree with that, but so is kind of free agency. Tony Pollard, David Montgomery.
Well, we'll put Tony Pollard on the shelf with his injury. I don't know if he's going to make it back in training camp or not with that broken.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. But Miles Sanders is on there. Saquon Barkley. Yeah, I know. Saquon Barkley. All those guys are there. You running a football team. You look at free agency. Would you go free agency, the route of free agency to get a running back? Or would you say, this draft is stacked enough that I go running back in the draft?
I've seen Green Bay's general manager do this, and I kind of like the theory. He double dips at both sides. He'll draft one spot and then also sign one. And I just really like the way he does that. So that's what I would do as a general manager. If I had the picks and see as a team to be able to go through and for free agency, and you see the plethora of free agent running backs, I mean, why not go sign a Saquon Barkley and get a Gibbs from Alabama? Like, why not?
15 million reasons why.
Why not?
15 million reasons a guy who gets hurt. $15 million.
But that's a Chris Greer guy, a guy that gets hurt.
I know.
I mean,
that's the problem. We already have Raheem Mostert. We can resign Raheem Mostert for $6 million.
Saquon is 10 times the running back than Raheem.
I know that, but I think personally, for me, like you said, for me, if you look at all the people who have won, we all want to win Super Bowls. We want our teams to win. Typically, the teams that win Super Bowls, they don't have these superstar bell cow running backs anymore. They're
Joe
part
Mixon
of a puzzle.
Is a bell cow running back in Cincinnati. Joe
Mixon. Yeah, Mixon is, but he's a developed. But he's also a draft pick. He was developed. He wasn't signed. Unless I'm mistaken.
There's other players. No, he was drafted, but there's other players that were signed and then became.
But there's so many plethora of running backs.
I think with the way this class is built,
Robert Jones, not Robert Jones.
Well, no.
Aaron Jones.
Well, I was going to say this class is built, this class is stacked enough that I think that you could possibly wait on signing a running back till after the draft when the price has dropped. You might still get a quality back. What is it? Kareem Hunt, a free agent as well. You got somebody like Kareem Hunt, Aaron Jones. You brought up out of Green Bay. Do you think Green Bay guy?
They could restructure him and save $10 million and still keep him. They're staying in town.
You think he's going to stay in Green Bay?
Yeah.
Okay, but my point being is I think you can still get a quality veteran, whether that's Raheem Mostert again, but you still get a quality veteran back after the draft when the price drops.
Well, half the teams in the NFC.
But I love the idea of being ballsy and saying, let me go get let me pay out to get a good running back and then draft another one. And you're stack. Yeah. So I like that.
Create your stable, and then that way you have your quarterback, whatever you have.
But look at Philly between Boston Scott and Miles Sanders. I guarantee you, most NFL fans, even if they tried, couldn't name you who the starting running back for the Chiefs is on Sunday. Okay, Pacheco. You know that, but most people wouldn't know that, and they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know. You remember who? And most people probably don't remember who they picked. And people probably don't even know who the starting running back was at the beginning of the season, even though he was their number one running back they drafted high.
Hilarious.
For me, you develop, you sign one like he said, you double dip. You get a veteran, someone who's been successful in the NFL. You only need to get a bell cow, and you draft someone, and you develop them, and then they act as a tandem. That's what makes you successful. And to take for Wingate is the reason why he was successful. If they just focused on Zeke and didn't incorporate Tony Pollard ended up being the best player on the best offensive weapon on that team this season. even though Zeke was the big player signed, right? So you have to go with yin and yang.
Fair.
And why do I love watching Green Bay's running game between AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones? You need that yin and yang. What worked for Miami, even though they kept on getting injured, if they would have had a consistent Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. all season, maybe we would have had a development running game. We didn't have that. We ended up going with Chase Edmonds, and we ended up trying to bring in Gaskin or whatever. You need to have that yin and yang, and if you have someone who's young and also a veteran, someone you can use who has experience in the league, that works best for
Michael. I know you've been sitting there, and any response to that? And what's your thought on the running back situation?
I was, when we talked about it earlier, I felt like the draft is the best way to get it. I think you can overpay for a running back when, I think we need a right tackle more than we do a running back. But I do like Dave's point, if you can get one and not kill yourself, and if you can get a running back and then also be able to take care of the needs that you have, then great. But Perfect. That's why they're the GMs, and we're just talking about the draft.
We're armchair GMs.
Armchair GMs, exactly.
That's all right. Even though sometimes you go, man, it's not. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to be a GM. Why do these guys make these crazy ass moves? I could do that.
I know, exactly.
So, all right, so guys, we're at the hour and 4-minute mark, about 5 minutes now. You're watching On the Clock, our Finstock Sports Network draft show. We come to you every Friday night at 8 o'clock Eastern, getting you ready for the NFL draft. We will have different panels, and as we go on, Josh Wingate, Brett Lagassi, Brett was supposed to be on tonight, but something came up. But we'll have different people on. Evan, probably because he saw Evan was coming, he's like, I'm not. I'll just sit. It was one.
Oh, but by the way, Dave, you and Brett are the reason why I'm here tonight. So thank you. We'll explain to you after the show.
I feel like I have to put like a stalker report in now.
But and then that's Michael Vogel. He'll be with me every day, every Friday, talking draft, and Dave Steger as well. And we'll just get you guys ready. So listen, that's about wraps it up. Tomorrow we got Fins Talk today. We'll talk free agency, offensive line. Of course, we got throughout the week all the great content, beer and sports with Josh Kimmel and friends until Josh Wingate's ready to come back. Yes, sir.
So you're just talking running backs. I'm just giving it, since we're on a Dolphins network and you guys might be looking for something, I'm going to give you guys around a fifth, sixth, maybe even a fourth if someone reaches for him. The name to check out, Israel Abenakanda.
Yes.
Back from Pitt.
I brought him up earlier. Israel from Pitt. Love that kid.
I didn't know. Sorry, I wasn't here. I didn't know.
No. That's okay. No, that's one of the guys.
Does he have small hands also?
No, he's a monster.
I know. I'm kidding. It's always a joke about Pitt quarterbacks. That's why I make a joke.
Josh Wingate is back on Monday night. That is awesome.
So guess what I'll be doing Monday night?
No, I don't have to fill it anymore.
Rolling. Awesome. Well, guys, let me thank everybody for tuning in. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You're watching On the Clock on the Finstock Sports Network. That's Michael, Dave, Evan. I'm Bobby Finstock. Guys, any closing words, Michael?
Fins up, baby.
Dave, can we get a fins up?
Fins down.
I'm going to have some cheese now.
No, if you got some, listen, just get some curds from the store. I know they're up there in Canada.
Oh, have you ever had a poutine? Have you ever had one?
Yes, I've had poutine.
Hey.
Whoa.
Try to be family. Don't be talking about that type of stuff.
Have you had poutine? Then you shut your mouth if you don't know what it is.
Okay. It doesn't sound good.
You don't even know what a poutine is.
Okay. So Evan, I grew up in central New York, and I used to go to Canada all the time for hunting and fishing. 3.5-hour trip all the way up. So
came up to Quebec? Where did you come up? You came up to Quebec?
No, we lived right by. We used to go up over near Niagara Falls and stuff like that.
On the Buffalo side, Rochester.
Yeah. We used to go up around there, and used to go about an hour into Canada and there when I was a kid, and we used to go hunting and fishing all the time. So I have had poutine, sir. I know what it is.
Yeah, but you haven't had it in Quebec. I'll bring you. One day you'll visit.
They're French, no.
Huh?
What?
Because all right, guys.
We'll follow up at the end. Thank you all for tuning in. Like, subscribe. Most importantly, fins up. Fins up.